For over a decade, one man has stood alone against one of the most powerful names in music. His name, Rymir Carter. And the secret he claims to hold, that he is Jay-Z's firstborn son, a child the billionaire rapper has allegedly fought to deny, discredit, and erase from public memory. But this isn't just a story about paternity, it's a story about a teenage girl allegedly taken across state lines, legal cover-ups, missing court documents, and a billion-dollar brand built on silence. Now, with mounting evidence and a voice that refuses to be silenced, Rymir is exposing everything. And what he says about how Jay-Z treated his mother. It's horrifying. This isn't just a family drama. It's a war over truth, legacy, and power. And for the first time, we're diving into the full story, from Wanda's heartbreaking death to the DNA test Jay-Z refuses to take.
I'm hoping he got paid. I'm hoping he got something for this, and that's why he's going away, but it don't look like it. But then, if Jay-Z does give him a settlement, he's not going to talk about it publicly, of course. I don't know. But who are we to get mad at Rymir if his life was really being threatened and he like, you know what, I'm gonna just go and withdraw. Because here's the thing, right? Jay-Z has a certain image, and Jay-Z has been able to keep this story quiet, keep it hush-hush, but there is something to it. Even if he's not this biological man, because it's a grown man, biological man's father, he must have slept with his mother. Like, he know who his mother is. Because if this was just a complete stranger and you had never slept with his mama, you would have been like, I didn't know who your mother was. Like, I have no clue what you're talking about. And you wouldn't give a damn about giving us some DNA. Or you would at least come out and say, I don't know who you are. So, what I will say is that between Rymir's mother, his late mother, and Jay-Z, there must have been a relationship. And see, the problem with you, Jay-Z, when you was in your 20s, you was dicking and dodging. You was giving out meat everywhere. Let's just keep it real. A dude like Jay-Z, you was Jay-Z. You started off being what, Jazzy, then it went to Jay-Z. You was doing your thing. You got a bunch of kids up in Maryland and up in that area. You know what I mean? Allegedly, Don't come for me. I'm just saying, Did you really want us to believe that Blue Ivy was your first child, Jay-Z? Well, actually, Beyonce was pregnant before that with the baby. And I think they was going to name that baby Brooklyn. And then she lost that baby. And then she got pregnant with Blue when she was shooting the cover of the album 4. They were in Paris. They had some good hot sex that late night, early morning. And then Beyonce got up with his nuts still in her and went and shot the shot. And she was like, ooh, we just got it in last night. And didn't know she was pregnant at the time. Okay, so I guess I'm a real Beehive fan. Anyway, with that being said, not me knowing your ovulation, I say all that to say, like, did you really want us to believe that Blue was your first child? Come on.
Rymir wasn't suing for child support or money from the past.
Rymir Carter was only 7 years old when his mother sat him down and told him something that would shape the rest of his life. The man raising him wasn't his father. She pointed to another name, a name Rymir barely understood at the time, Jay-Z. At first, it meant nothing. But as he grew older, the pieces started to come together. His mother, Wanda, had told the same story for years, that when she was a teenager, she had a brief relationship with Sean Carter, who was already on the come-up in the music scene. Wanda was allegedly just 15 or 16, Jay-Z in his early 20s. What followed was silence. Wanda became pregnant, but Jay-Z reportedly vanished. No support, no acknowledgement, no responsibility. And when Rymir began seeking answers, the walls started closing in. Wanda died fighting for justice. Literally. She passed away while on a call with a judge who, according to reports, was pressuring her to drop the paternity filings. That alone would be enough to break most people, but for Rymir, it became the fuel that lit a decade-long mission. His goal wasn't fame, it wasn't money, it was truth. But that search would take him into a labyrinth of sealed court files, rotating judges, gag orders, and even what some claim were coordinated intimidation tactics. And the deeper he dug, the clearer it became. Someone didn't want this story told. Back in 1992, the story begins in Philadelphia, not in a courtroom or a luxury penthouse, but on the streets, where 15-year-old Wanda met a man who was already beginning to carve his name into the music world, Sean Carter. known today as Jay-Z, according to multiple people close to Wanda, including her best friend and godmother. She was a minor when she met Jay-Z, and things escalated fast. The claim is disturbing. Wanda, still a teenage girl, was allegedly taken across state lines from Pennsylvania to New York, where Jay-Z, then in his early 20s, slept with her. In any era, this would raise red flags. But legally, crossing state lines to engage in intimate acts with a minor isn't just scandalous. It opens the door to federal criminal charges. Wanda got pregnant soon after, but when she tried to reach out to Jay-Z, he reportedly disappeared. No calls, no help, no responsibility. And what started as a teenage girl trying to navigate a difficult pregnancy on her own became a cover-up that would last more than 30 years. Let's pause for a second. This isn't just some, he said, she said drama from the 90s. This is a woman who was a child by legal standards, allegedly manipulated, used, and left behind by a man with far more power, age, and resources. And what did Jay-Z do when Wanda tried to file for paternity later on? According to insiders, his legal team got to work hard. Allegedly, key documents went missing. A judge retired shortly after suppressing the case. And that same judge was later found to have bought a $3 million home in the Caribbean under an anonymous LLC. Coincidence? Or a very expensive silence? To make matters worse, Wanda died without ever seeing justice, collapsing while on the phone with a judge who, as the story goes, was berating her to stop pushing the case forward. Rymir was left not only without a father but with a growing sense that the system was rigged against him from the start. Jay-Z never took a DNA test, and that's the part that stings the most. Because if you're not the father, it's simple: take the test, clear your name, and walk away. But that's not what happened. And that silence, it only fueled the fire. The deeper Rymir pushed for answers, the harder the resistance became. It was no longer just a personal paternity case, it was a battle against a billion-dollar brand, and every move he made was met with silence, obstruction, or outright suppression. Jay-Z's legal team, according to multiple sources, used every tool at their disposal. Judges changed without explanation. Key filings disappeared from the court record. And just when Rymir thought he was getting closer, gag orders appeared. The message was loud and clear: shut up or face consequences. Even more troubling, Wanda's allies, including her godmother Lily, said they'd witnessed firsthand the tactics being used to bury the case. Reports emerged of a mysterious judge who suppressed the DNA order, only to retire shortly afterward and buy a $3 million property in the Turks and Caicos under a shell company. Was that a coincidence? Or was that the price of silence? Meanwhile, the Carter empire was growing. Jay-Z was no longer just a rapper, he was an icon. Married to Beyoncé, partnered with the NFL, billionaire status secured. Everything depended on keeping his image clean. But here's where things take a darker turn. Insiders claim Beyoncé's camp was aware of the situation. According to unnamed sources, someone in her inner circle even warned Rymir to back off. And not long after that warning, someone showed up at Rymir's home. Intimidation? Coincidence? Either way, the timing was chilling. And when Rymir tried to speak out again, this time on social media and in interviews, Jay-Z's legal team reportedly pushed for a federal gag order. The narrative shifted. They painted Rymir not as a lost son, but as a nuisance, a stalker, a long-term harasser. That phrase alone sparked outrage online, because if this man is your son, calling him a harasser isn't just cruel, it's inhuman. And if he's not your son, well, the answer would be simple: take the DNA test. Instead, the Carter machine spent years, and likely millions, fighting that single act. Why? It wasn't just about Rymir, it was about control, about reputation, about protecting a legacy built on perfection. Because one crack, one paternity scandal, could bring everything crumbling down.
I think it's the girl like Tasha K. She got a Jay-Z son on there.
Oh, his alleged son?
No. If you talk to him personally, that's his son.
You think that's his son?
Yeah. You know what I think his son? First of all, Jay-Z offered him money. At first he offered him bread, like, and everything, but his aunt, this is like his caretaker didn't like approve of it. She said no. Jay-Z got a lien on her house, all type of shit that was going on. Yeah, the lady put up paperwork and everything with his name on it and all that. I mean, but young boy's so thorough though. He just wanted dad. He not trying to get no money. He not trying to do none of that. I mean, that's why. So I told him when he called me 2 years ago. I said, listen, I don't want to be the one to tell your story because they're gonna think I'm trying to catch rep off of it. So let me let you tell your story somewhere else first. I mean, then I can talk about it. But he called me like 2 years ago, telling me like, I said, oh, young boy. He's like, I just want a dad. I don't want no money. I'm already 18. I think he was like 20 something at the time. But something happened to him, and I was like, yo, that sounds kind of weird. He said he was coming out from work, going to work, and there was a gun in his car. Like when he opened the door, he seen the gun. He said he went to go like call his man like, yo, did you leave a gun in my car? His man's like, no. He said, why you on the phone talking to his man? The cops pull up and lock him up. He said he told the cops, no, that's not my gun. He's like, so he went in the building he was in, and they seen that somebody pulled up and put the guns in his car.
Oh,
and pulled off. I said, bro, I don't know nobody in the hood that got guns to just waste like that to do that. I don't know what. He's like, yeah, so like Jay-Z had a gag order against him, like trying to get a gag order and trying to. If my thing is, if this is not my son, I'll just take a test, get over with.
Yeah.
The fact that you dodged it and whatever, to me, I don't.
You spoke on, the love child, Rymir, Jay-Z, the paternity.
Yeah.
He's come out and said, like, this is just long-term harassment, man. He's like, this thing is just won't go away.
Long-term harassment. You know how disrespectful that is to a man that looks almost identical to you?
Yeah, that's his child. That's very disrespectful. I mean,
to a man that chances are, just out of nowhere, random universal selection, this boy who's not related to you has your nose, has your mouth, has your brow line, has your hairline, same straight knobby knees, is like all of this just by accident. Just by accident. It's just a coincidence that this man looks like he could be your Irish twin. Are you kidding me? I'll tell you what I do know. I do know that I have listened to actual commentary from his godmother, Lily, who sat with a friend of mine, Liz Crokin.
To this day, Jay-Z has
Don't nobody want to talk about the other kids that everybody denies don't exist and whatever. To be a billionaire that can't get a loan is one thing. But to be a broke billionaire and a deadbeat dad, that's something different.
Yeah. Even Solange's son, the Daniel kid, he says he doesn't have a great relationship with Beyonce, Jay-Z. What do you feel someone coming out saying, hey, Jay-Z's my father? What does that person want from a Hov if he's saying he does not care?
To prove that his mother wasn't a liar, because that's what they said his entire life while she was alive. Denying him makes her a liar. That woman was on the phone with the judge who was harassing her, telling her, demanding that she stop filing for paternity when she gave way and died. His mama died on the phone. Trying to get proper acknowledgement for him. If your mama died like that, would you just sit around and let people keep calling her a liar? That's how your mama died, with a judge yelling at her. And turns out now, all of these judges were bought off and paid off, and they're going to be looking at sanctions and probably charges, because what they did was illegal.
Carters actually have a very strained relationship.
Jay-Z, over the course of his career, and I have to still say allegedly, has done things and allegedly participated in a lot of things that the public would not be happy to know. For some reason, y'all like to conveniently forget what age Foxy Brown was when he was with her. Y'all like to forget that he was rolling with R. Kelly and they was doing a lot of things together. Y'all like to forget a lot of that, right? But good PR, good marketing, and the fact that, Jay-Z got a lot of this industry on lock. So he's able to keep a lot of things hush-hush. He's very powerful, and Beyonce is too. But they are still black. and this industry is not. The people that run it, they are not, okay? So when they're done with you and it's your turn to be exposed, you're going to be exposed too. So long story short, I told y'all Diddy was first, but they're not done with him. More people are going to come out. What I've heard about them as a couple is that they've been living separate lives for a very long time. So they together, but they living separate. And part of the reason why they're already living separate lives, and we may actually see one of the biggest divorces in Hollywood, is because Jay-Z is up next to be exposed. And it's only so much of these stories that Jay-Z can, he can pay off or he can block. He won't be able to stop this. And she knows it, and he knows it too. As far as who's gonna be the breakout victim / story, I don't know. Yeah, I might have to ask Jason Lee. I don't know. But I'm just letting you know that once that comes out and Jay-Z is exposed for his nefarious past, you're gonna see Beyonce divorce him. Okay, and she may or may not do an interview, but their publicist is gonna release something. She's gonna say, "Oh, the Carters have been separated for some time. They built this beautiful life, blah 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 blah." Now, before all this happens, we may get another tour. We may get another album out of both of them. I don't know, because at the end of the day, they about their money first. They're gonna do what's best for business first. As far as Beyonce is concerned, do she love him? I mean, he's really all that she knows. She was ready to leave him years ago, but the industry it's different. And I don't want to say it's an Illuminati contract, because I don't know how the Illuminati get down. I really don't know. And I'm not going to lie to you and say I do. But essentially, she's been stuck, right? But I believe this is going to be her chance to get out. And according to what I heard, if certain things that I can't even speak on come out, she gone. She's gonna protect her image. All right. And this, I don't know what would be the bigger divorce, Will and Jada or Beyonce and Jay-Z. But just know everybody's gonna be talking about it.
No contact, nothing.
I was there, I was present. I heard it come out of her mouth. Wanda was a minor. A minor. When she got pregnant with Rymir. And like Wanda always said, he picked her up in Philly, but he took her to New York, across state lines, to bed her while she was allegedly underage. Even though Lily was present when Rymir was born. She was very clear on the fact that Wanda was a minor when she was pregnant with Rymir, who...
I don't know, I think his mom was underage or something when he was born, so I think that's probably... Yeah, I think that's probably part of it.
Yeah.
But like I said, again, it's not the same as now.
But is the mom still alive?
No, she died. She died.
Huh.
She was 15 when she had him.
Oh. How old was Jay?
Like 20-something, I guess.
Oh.
Like 20, probably early 20, like 24.
We don't know if it's true. This is just...
No, but I'm saying he took the DNA thing with the, was ancestry type shit. I think he got like somebody popped up on it, like, because, you got different kids that's in different places. I mean, my thing is this, if I got $1 billion, right, I would want to have a lot of kids. You my kid, I got so much money, I don't give a fuck. You my kid or not.
You get some sperm. You get some sperm.
You get some sperm. If you are my kid, I your mom, and you my kid. Even if I want to be around you, don't want to see you, don't want to. If I want the world to know,
right? But think about the headline.
While Jay-Z thrived under the spotlight, Rymir Carter grew up in the shadows. Not just of a man who allegedly abandoned him, but in a city that offered no safety net, no protection, and no relief. Philadelphia wasn't just tough, it was dangerous. And for a young man raised without privilege or power, every day felt like survival. But as Rymir's fight for truth gained traction, the stakes became more than emotional. They became physical. One day Rymir came out to his car before work and noticed something strange, a gun on the passenger seat. Shocked, he immediately called a friend, asking if they'd left it behind. Mid-conversation, the police pulled up, guns drawn, no questions asked. Rymir was arrested on the spot. But what happened next raised eyebrows. Surveillance footage reportedly showed a stranger placing the weapon in his car moments earlier, then vanishing. The implication was chilling. Someone had set him up. Why? According to Rymir, this wasn't just bad luck, it was part of a broader pattern, an effort to silence him, discredit him, or worse. It wasn't the first time he'd felt watched. And after speaking publicly about Jay-Z, strange cars began showing up. Anonymous threats followed. Friends distanced themselves. Doors closed. He wasn't just fighting for truth, he was fighting to stay safe. But even as the pressure mounted, Rymir kept going. What he wanted was simple. A name, a test, closure. He wasn't after money. He wasn't asking for back child support. He just wanted to know who his father was, not for clout, but for clarity. Especially given the medical history on his mother's side and the impact it might have on his children. Still, the public didn't always understand. In the court of public opinion, Rymir was labeled everything from a liar to a clout chaser. If he's not after money, why go so hard? They asked. But they weren't there when his mother broke down, begging a judge to listen. They didn't see her die fighting for her son's right to be acknowledged. They didn't live in a city where gunshots were routine, or where your mother's truth was buried with her. To this day, Jay-Z has never taken a DNA test, and Rymir, now in his 30s, continues to bear the weight of that silence. Navigating a world where one of the richest, most influential men alive might be his father, and yet won't lift a finger to confirm or deny it. For years, Jay-Z's team has refused to take a DNA test to settle the controversy. That refusal has become the heart of Rymir Carter's fight, and the question that keeps haunting this case: why won't Jay-Z just take the test? It's a simple action. It could shut everything down in 24 hours. But instead, Jay-Z's legal machinery has done the opposite, delaying, deflecting, and burying every attempt to get the truth out. But then, something slipped through the cracks. In a shocking twist, a sealed affidavit allegedly ordered by a judge back in 2011 was leaked anonymously online. First on obscure Reddit forums, then quickly spreading to Twitter and Instagram. The document claimed that a private DNA test was conducted, and the result, 99.98% match. If true, that would make Rymir Carter biologically Jay-Z's son beyond a reasonable doubt. But here's the problem. That test was never enforced. It was sealed, buried, forgotten, until someone blew the lid off. And then came the backlash. Suddenly, deadbeat billionaire began trending on Instagram, flooded with side-by-side photos, comparing Jay-Z and Rymir, their nearly identical facial features sparking new debates. Even Saturday Night Live teased the story in a skit titled, "My Billionaire Dad." The streets were talking. The internet was boiling, and Jay-Z, still silent. But the leak did more than just go viral. It exposed what some claim is a decade-long pattern of legal manipulation. One judge connected to the case retired 6 months after suppressing the 2011 order. Then purchased a $3 million home in Turks and Caicos, under an LLC. No transparency. No explanation. Just silence, and a trail of money that smells like something rotten. And what's more, according to legal insiders, Jay-Z's team fought to get that leak scrubbed from the internet. But by the time CNN and TMZ picked it up, the damage was done. Jay-Z was no longer just dodging a personal issue. He was facing a full-blown PR crisis, with real legal stakes. And here's what nobody can ignore. If this DNA test is fake, Jay-Z could easily say so, and sue for defamation, but he hasn't, and the silence is deafening. Rymir's camp believes the truth was bought and buried. And if even a fraction of it is true, Jay-Z isn't just avoiding paternity, he's avoiding accountability. In this scandal, one name lingers quietly behind the scenes: Beyoncé, the queen of silence, the master of image control. While Jay-Z has been accused of everything from abandonment to manipulation, Beyoncé has said nothing. But insiders say that doesn't mean she's unaware. In fact, some claim she's been involved from the very beginning. Not as a participant in the cover-up, but as a strategist protecting the brand she helped build. According to sources close to the case, someone in Beyoncé's camp allegedly contacted Rymir, telling him to go away early in the legal battle. And not long after that warning, someone reportedly showed up at Rymir's property. Intimidation? Coincidence? Maybe. But for a man who has faced gag orders, planted evidence, and public gaslighting, it felt like a message. Let's be honest, Beyoncé isn't just an artist, she's an empire. And the Carter brand is a global juggernaut: Grammy wins, billion-dollar businesses, Ivy Park, ROC Nation, Parkwood, and the image of the perfect power couple. But that image is fragile. One scandal, especially involving an underage girl and an abandoned child, doesn't just hurt Jay-Z, it hurts both of them. Behind closed doors, rumors swirl. Some say the Carters have been living separate lives for years, maintaining appearances only for business. Beyoncé, allegedly, was ready to leave long ago, not because of infidelity, but because of how sloppy Jay-Z was with the fallout. This wasn't just about cheating. This was about legacy, and if the story continues to gain traction, some believe Beyoncé will cut ties publicly. Not because she didn't know, but because she can't afford to go down with the ship. According to insiders, a divorce announcement could be imminent, released strategically through a publicist. Wrapped in the usual PR language about growing apart and co-parenting. But beneath the spin would be one harsh truth: the Carter empire cracked, not from external pressure, but from the secrets buried inside it. For now, Beyoncé remains silent. But that silence might just be her strongest move yet. A calculated pause before the final blow. Because in an industry built on illusion, the first one to break character loses. This is no longer just about Rymir Carter. It's not even just about Jay-Z. At this point, the controversy has spiraled into something far bigger. A battle over legacy, bloodlines, and a billion-dollar empire. Think about what's really at stake. Here, if even a fraction of Rymir's claims are proven true, Jay-Z's reputation takes a direct hit, not as a mogul, not as a businessman, but as a father, a man who, allegedly, had a relationship with a minor, got her pregnant, then spent decades and millions trying to erase her and the child from his life. The headlines write themselves: billionaire deadbeat, Jay-Z hid firstborn son, empire built on silence. And let's not forget the industry power players watching all this unfold. Jay-Z isn't just a rapper, he's woven into the fabric of the music business. ROC Nation manages artists. He partners with the NFL. He sits on boards. He's tight with tech CEOs and global elites. But scandals like this, they linger, and the more the public finds out, the harder it becomes to separate the art from the accusations. There's also the political layer. Jay-Z and Beyoncé are perceived as cultural royalty. They've aligned themselves with social justice movements, spoken out on mass incarceration, and positioned themselves as defenders of the voiceless. But how does that square with this? How does the man who funds criminal justice reform spend a decade dodging a DNA test? How does the woman who sang Pretty Hurts stay silent while her husband's alleged son gets dragged through courtrooms and jail cells? And then there's the financial fallout. If a court ever rules in Rymir's favor, if even one judge acknowledges that DNA test from 2011, the door opens for civil lawsuits, retroactive damages, defamation claims, and even criminal investigations related to Wanda's age and alleged cross-state travel. Suddenly, it's not just about Jay-Z's legacy. It's about protecting the entire Carter dynasty. Ivy Park, ROC Nation, Tidal, Parkwood Entertainment. Brands worth billions. That's why this case isn't being treated like a scandal. It's being treated like a threat. And it's exactly why Rymir said what he said after dropping the federal case. This isn't surrender. This is chess, not checkers. Because in this game, the next move could be checkmate.
Accused of with Foxy Brown too.
You know, I don't know where you was at back in the 80s or the early 90s, Vlad, but my neighborhood, every girl that was bad at 16 and 15, 17, had old head boyfriends. They had the Benzes, the big ropes, so on, and it wasn't frowned upon, it was just regular, that's how it went. So, yeah, I mean, so like the time era back then, not saying it's right or wrong, I'm saying the time era back then, if he was doing that, it was cool to do back then. And like now it's everybody politically correct and you can't do that stuff, but I know, even when I was a young boy, I had my little girlfriends, they all had an old head boyfriend that they was messing with. You know what I mean? Like they old head boyfriend, they just buy them clothes, don't really take them somewhere, whatever stuff you can't do, and they mess with you, it's for real. I mean, but that's just how I went. I mean, but now this world is like, you know what I mean, you gotta can't do stuff like that, but that's how I always went. So if they compare today's era with, if he did that with Foxy Brown back in the day, it's not the same.
Yeah, I mean, she's not saying anything happened. They were just...
Plus, he put her on. She got on.
On July 27th, the world expected a war. Court filings were in place. The headlines were heating up, and the pressure on Jay-Z had never been more intense. But then, in a move that stunned everyone, Rymir Carter withdrew his federal lawsuit. At first, it looked like defeat, silence, retreat, surrender. But then came the message. In a calm, calculated video posted to Instagram, Rymir said, "This isn't over. We had to step back. This is chess, not checkers." Those words echoed like a warning, not just to Jay-Z, but to the entire industry watching this unfold. So why did he pull the case? Some believe it was strategic, that Rymir's legal team saw better angles, or that they were stonewalled by high-level interference. Others think something darker may have happened behind the scenes. Intimidation, threats, even bribery. But there's one theory no one can ignore. Jay-Z may have made a quiet settlement, a payment, an NDA, a clean slate, at least in the eyes of the court. If that happened, we'll likely never know. Rymir wouldn't be able to talk about it publicly. That's how powerful people keep secrets. And yet, there's no indication that Rymir sold out. He hasn't vanished. He hasn't deleted his posts. He hasn't changed his story. He's still here, still talking, still pushing. Because for him, this was never just about a paternity test. It was about his mother, Wanda, who died begging a judge to acknowledge her son. It was about his own children, who deserve to know their roots. And it was about breaking the cycle for every other kid who's ever been told they don't matter. Jay-Z, for his part, has remained silent. No statement, no DNA test, no denial, but silence is a statement of its own. And now, the world is watching. Because even if Jay-Z wins this round legally, the public perception war is already shifting. More people are asking hard questions. More voices are rising. And if even one more person with insider knowledge speaks up, a former friend, a staff member, a business associate, the dam could break. This isn't just a story about celebrity drama, it's about power, abuse, and the cost of truth in a world built on lies. Rymir's story has reached the world. And now, with the chessboard reset, the next move belongs to him. And it might just be the one that finally exposes Jay-Z for who he really is.